BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Mark Noble here. I want to warn everybody that the following podcast will contain some adult themes, some strong language, and several tales about Eggy Boff.
Quality. Crouchy P on the MIC. We're doing this not for free. We're doing it for the massive.
Got to bash out a quick Mike Dean slaughters chickens in the local park.
Was it David or was it David?
No, not that phrase. the one that David said to you.
I don't want to do that.
That's why I've asked you the question.
Pancake.
Who is the pancake of the Premier League?
That should be on the start, I reckon. Everyone's got a Fernando Torres.
Hello and welcome to the Peter Crouch podcast with me, Mark Noble, Peter Crouch, Tom Fordyce and Chris Stark are here with me. All right, boys?
No, it's fantastic to have you with us today, Mark. And cheers for coming and getting involved with this podcast.
First, I want to hear the reasons why Crouchy wanted me on, to be honest.
When you played your 400th game for West Ham, I just felt this day and age, you just don't get that anymore. You know what I mean? So like a one club man, someone who's been up, down with one club, people talk about Steven Gerrard or Jamie Carragher, people like that, but maybe Mark Noble doesn't get the credit maybe that he deserves.
Yeah, do you know what? When I actually think about it and think doing it for the club you support, you know what I mean? Doing it for the team that I used to sneak in at Upton Park and climb under the fence when I couldn't afford tickets, and then to go on and play 400 Premier League games for the club you support is pretty special. And as you say, there's only a handful of players that's gone on to do that. So
it's a hell of a journey. I'm so excited for us to get into it on this podcast. Before we get started, though, Crouchy, I know that you've got to read an important statement for everyone listening.
My apologies, Mark. Let me just get this out of the way. The people responsible for that Peter Crouch podcast would like to make the following statement. On our previous episode, we announced that our special end-of-season Housery Awards would be known as the Shafters. We have subsequently been made aware that there already exists an awards ceremony called the Shafters. It appears this ceremony concerns the awards for the pornographic films made in Great Britain.
No laughing, boys.
Sorry. They are, in fact, described by organisers as the UK Oscars of porn. It was never our intention to copy, mock, promote or undermine the original Shafters, despite the stiff competition they provide. We apologise unreservedly for any offence we may have caused. Should you require more information, their Shafters stands for Soft and Hard Adult Film and Television Awards. Ours do not.
Thanks, Crouchy.
Yeah, it's a nice apology, Crouch. I think I speak for all of us when I say I'm glad that you did that. The only problem is we now don't have a name for our awards. We're going to have to get rid of Shafters. It's been done already. Chris, what do you think? Any ideas?
Right. Okay.
Difficult, isn't it?
Well, if it's a sort of shithouse Oscars, we're calling them the Shoskers, I guess.
Shoskers is decent.
Shouzers. Sort of that solves the problem of us swearing too much, and the name of the awards, that's quite nice, but no one's going to remember it.
Shysters? Can we say shysters?
Shysters! Is that's a new one. The lawyers will love this. We're coming back with a compromise. Poor George, who produces this, he'll never keep this in. Every week we have to get him dealing with people who are dead against everything that we're saying.
Technically, I feel like that's a swear word, but it's not.
I agree.
Right, lads, I've just Googled the word shyster.
Go on.
What it is a person, especially a lawyer, who is unscrupulous, fraudulent, or deceptive.
Oh, that works.
So that's, we can get away with that.
I agree. Good admin, guys.
Good admin.
I'm talking about admin, Crouchy. Any updates on the entertainment front?
Yes, we do actually. Yeah. Well, our new head of entertainment is Patrick Bamford, believe it or not. And he has got a message for us.
Hi, Crouchy. Patrick Bamford here. Not got much to report this week, other than it's a tough song to learn. Chris was right. I'll be working on it for the next couple of weeks to make sure I'm in shape for the end of season's award due. See you later.
What a formal statement there from Patrick Bamford.
I like that. I mean, he's getting ready for the end of season awards evening.
He's not getting ready for ready for the end of season at Leeds. No, don't worry about that.
Not the Leeds one. Don't worry about that. No, he's getting ready for the end of season Shyster Awards at the Samrat.
Thing is, we're not struggling for nominations, are we? Like, social media's gone ridiculous. The number of people who who are sort of tagging us into examples of housery from football, from other sports, from the wider world, from grassroots football?
Yeah, we've had so many nominations. We've got to put time limits on them. So the last day for entries to peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk or tag us in socials. It's going to be Friday the 14th of May. That's D-Day.
Nice, decided.
Yeah, Mark, I know we've got you thinking right now of examples of shithousery that you might put forward for a nomination. Is there any that come to mind?
You've wound the
Totally.
up.
Of course I have. That's it's the whole point of the game.
I remember a shithouse moment from you. Right?
I know what you're going to say.
I can't remember. You know exactly what I'm going to say.
That was Herrera from Manchester United. We was losing 2-1 and I see him laid down. And I think he winked at his physio. And I thought, no way, he's going to time waste here. So I just thought, how can I do to move him quickly off the pitch? And I obviously picked him up and carried him off. And then I think he tweeted the next day with a wink, thanks for the lift notes. But I thought Crouchy, I thought you was going to talk about when you was playing with Stoke with Arnie, and he was on the floor. And you know what he's like, mate. He's a great lad, isn't he? Like a lot of people get the wrong perception of him. And he was sitting on the floor, diving all over the place or whatever. And I grabbed him by the hair and pulled his hair up. And he jumped up, mate. You know the size of him. He's massive, isn't he? He was like twice the size of me. And I think Kevin Nolan jumped in to help me out.
Cheers, Captain, yeah.
Yeah, and then the first thing he done when he walked in our dressing room said, don't forget what you done to me.
Grouchy, you got some good stories about. We're talking about Marko Arnautovic in case people didn't get the nickname.
Yeah, Marko Arnautovic. When I remember a few people asked me about him when he went to West Ham. People think he's like a bad egg, but he's actually the exact opposite. He brought people together in our dressing room, and everyone loved him.
Same as ours, mate. Everyone, I think, was a little bit worried about when he come because of that perception. But mate, funny man, and what a player, Crouchy, when he turned it on. Some days in training, mate, I'd think, oh my God, you couldn't get close to the fella. He was so quick and powerful, but so loud and funny with it as well a lot of the time. But he was a good. I'm really sad to see him go. I was actually really sad to see him go.
He always said to me, he said, one day, Crouchy, I always remember it at Stoke, he goes, one day. It's like his dream. He was going, one day I'll be in China. And I said,
mate, do you know, Crouchy, when I played my 400th appearance the other day, he FaceTimed me, right? He was like, oh, hey, Logs, how you doing? All that. I was like, mate, what's happening? He went, and mate, behind him in his apartment, there was some nutty machine, mate. It looked like a spaceship. And I went, geez, what is that? He said, it's my gaming console. I've got nothing else to do all day. So he just sits in this big spaceship playing on the computer. Brilliant.
You know, Liverpool were interested at one stage, and I said to him, you know, if you go anywhere, go to a top club like that, you know. And it's a shame, really. You know, he's in China, and you know he's there for whatever reason.
Mark, whilst we've got you here, it's a really good chance to chat, you know, with a Premier League captain, and especially, I guess, with the point that you're at and the hindsight you've got, and obviously the pride that you have in being captain. But how do you sum up being captain of a team that you love so much, like for mere mortals like me?
So my upbringing was a West Ham kit for your birthday, a West Ham kit for Christmas. Like, if you're lucky, you got the away kit, and if you're really lucky, you got your number, your name and number on the back. Like, full stop. Do you know what I mean? I used to, with my mates, I used to go to the games and try and sneak in, and then sometimes used to get tickets, and then mad. Just it's so mad, mate. Honestly, I know you become accustomed to it because you're in it now for so long. But like you got to imagine my debut. My mum and dad was away. They was in Cyprus. Like, my dad's watched me play all around the world. Like, he sat on trains to Sweden, Luleå, and overnight trains. Had nothing. I think he had 20 quid in his pocket at the time. I was playing under 17s or something. And he's watched me everywhere. And then he goes away on holiday with my mum and my sisters, and then Parched calls me into the first team and says, like, you're on the bench tonight, and then brings me on for 20 minutes. And Carly's my wife now. Like, we went to school together, and she was at the game. And like, I was obviously, you got to understand, mate. I was in school 6 months ago with all my mates, like talking about West Ham and like going to the games on the weekend and being called into the first team and playing and and the boys will be in there. And then I see Carly after, and I was like, I didn't even pass my test then. I think I failed my first test. I had a golf sitting outside my house, and I used to go and sit in it, just play the music, and turn the lights on.
That's what I did.
Yeah, and then me and Carly walked home together, mate. Just like I said, like the traffic's murder outside the Boleyn. Yeah, walked home, mate. Walked across, walked past Brampton, across the bridge, and went home. And then to become captain and do what I've done with the club is it's just like, honestly, you can't even think of it.
That sort of thing used to happen all the time 20, 40 years ago. A local lad who supports the club plays for them and captains them. But it's such a rare thing now that it feels somehow more special.
Yeah, and do you know what? A lot of people ask me now, like, because I'm coming to the end of my career, say, what's your proudest moment or what's your biggest achievement and all that? Because obviously I've played a lot of games for the club. I've won nothing really, you know what I mean? Like a couple of playoff finals or whatever, even though they're really important. But as in like proper trophies, I haven't. But I've had like 9 managers of different nationalities, different ways of playing, and always been picked. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't get picked in a Premier League team because you support the club and you're a homegrown player, full stop. Like, if you're not good enough, you get moved on. Like, that's the way football is now. So, yeah, for me, definitely, that is my
That's such a good
biggest
point,
achievement.
man. Like, I'm thinking of this right now. As a football fan, if I had the ability and skills that you boys have, would I rather play for a lot of different teams and perhaps win an FA Cup or a Champions League, which I guess is what, you know, every footballer aspires to? Or would I rather be a Watford fan who's gone and done everything and will always be sort of remembered for being this Watford player and the word legend? Or it's a really interesting, not that you should really have to choose, but it's an interesting balance, isn't it? Because I think out of those two scenarios, I would rather be the player that perhaps went to Watford and did my bit there and played through.
This is my point at the moment with Harry Kane, you know, like that, and the chat that, you know, he might move on, and it's like, yeah, but if he does win something with Tottenham, and yeah, he's such a great player and he could go anywhere he wants to go, but if he does stay and he does win something with Tottenham, or it just means more, doesn't it? It's going to mean more to him than going to Man City or Man United. And, you know, let's be honest, Nobes is going to be at West Ham all his life. You know, he's got a job. If he wants a job at West Ham, he's got it there forever, you know? If you'd have left and gone to, say, Tottenham, for instance, 5 years ago, you might have won.
To walk down the street.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I know. That's what I'm saying. You know, it tarnishes your West Ham career.
There is a side to it where to play the games I have and to go through last ever captain at Boleyn, having the last ever testimonial at the stadium, and then moving into the Olympic Stadium as captain and going through all this, it just creates a bit of history for myself and my family. Do you know what I mean? In years to come, like,
absolutely.
And it's so special that I've been lucky enough to do that.
Do you think that's held you back with England?
I don't know, mate. Maybe, you know, like, because there's a lot of players that have gone and moved clubs and done well for 6 months, got an England call up. I don't know whether it's just like, Mark Noble, he plays for West Ham every week, you know what I mean? It's like 7 out of 10 or whatever, 8 out of 10. And it's something I don't really regret. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really think, do you know what, because everyone always, if you're not ever happy with what you've got, like, you'll never be happy as a person.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, I've always
and then you'll stop yourself doing other things as well.
Yeah, I've always looked at it and thought I've had some incredible international breaks with the lads. You know what I mean? I've had some great, like, with Big Sam's trips to Dubai and all that. Like, I've had some great.
What a great
trips.
way of looking at it.
Yeah,
there's a podcast series in that, isn't there? Big Sam's trips to Dubai. What?
He was some man.
Crouch going for the spectacular! Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Guys, do you remember Matt's message from a couple of episodes ago? He was a bit concerned that his manager was grooming him to become Parched.
Yes.
Matt's got back in touch after we gave him some advice on how to either avoid it or just embrace it. His message says, I tried to key my manager's car, kick over cones and have a word with the rest of the lads. Looks like I was in too deep and I'm now the assistant manager.
What?
Didn't work.
Well, he's
Wow.
in too far. He's in too deep now. I mean, he's part of the staff.
He's part of the staff. He's that parched. He's part of the staff.
He's gone beyond parched for me, though. I think once you actually join the staff, you've gone beyond parching, because to be parched, you still have to be a player, right, Pete?
Yeah, it's over. The parched days are over. But you know what? The players will always remember how he got that role. A manager in this day and age is you don't start by being hydrated, do you?
Like, whenever I've been in a dressing room, mate, I'd be on that straight away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let them have a minute. As soon as they even walked away from the gaffer, they'd be getting it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but are you definitely not parched?
Nah.
See, the thing is like, you've had 8 managers, right? They've all played you.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, Geese?
What I'm trying to say
parchy,
is,
isn't it?
there's potential for you to be quite parched.
I suppose there is potential, but what you're trying to say is I'm a shit player, I just suck up to the manager. Yeah?
No, I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is, would Aaron Cresswell come on this podcast and say, if I asked him the question, who's the most parched player at West Ham, would he say you?
Oh,
It's dangerous silence there.
You don't know Cress, do you? He's a slippery little slug. So he'd probably just say me anyway, yeah.
Kev Nola must have been parched over the years.
With Big Sam, yeah, he was his boy, wasn't he?
he's a good candidate.
To be fair though, Kev, he would get on great with Sam, but he would never worry about having an argument with him. Do you know what I mean?
Same with Charlie, to be fair.
All right, well,
And Kev's a great lad, by the way. Let's get that in.
Who's Moyes' favourite?
Jesse Lingard at the minute, mate.
I bet he is, yeah.
Christ.
I bet he is.
He's not, we do boxes, Crouchy. He's not even a lad in the middle, mate. You know, the gaffer was standing there the other day, and now obviously the lads are on it, do you know what I mean? So it's a running joke, and they live in the same apartment block now as well.
Oh, very cosy.
But the gaffer loves it as well. He'd be around, Jesse would be with all us, and he'd go, Jess, thanks for bringing me that bottle of wine the other night. You know what I mean? And he'd just swallow his Adam's apple, Jesse. He just wouldn't have a comeback, you know what I mean? But yeah, he loves Jesse, mate.
Crouchy's, I'd never heard of this game before. In fact, Crouchy, do you want to ask Mark about this?
No, well, listen, I know, just well versed in the legend of Eggy Boff, but we had it at Tottenham, coming through. I wondered what went on at West Ham.
Chris, you think it's a laugh, mate? It's not a laugh. You know what I mean?
It sounds stressful.
Yeah, it's a laugh after it's happened. Do you know what I mean? But while it's in it, mate, your heart's pumping. Silly ones, stupid things, you go, as young lads, we'd go to the cinema, right? And you'd pay, get all your sweets, popcorn, slush puppies, all the gear. You'd be walking in like that, and as you got to the door, someone would go, Eggy Boff, first one in there.
No.
And you're like, what? Why would you do that? I've just done 30 quid on popcorn. Do you know what I mean? And then you just couldn't go in. So you sit outside until someone went in. And if you broke, mate, that was you finished. We done it on the 21s coach before, Geese. It was, mate, my arsehole was so clenched on the coach.
Eggy Boff not getting off the coach?
What happened was, so we pulled up, right? As all the staff at the front jumped off, walked in. As we've all got up, someone's got, Eggy Boff got off the bus. And you're like, well, I ain't getting off first, so. And then you began to one of the lads, go on, I bet you get off. And the more people said that, you weren't getting off. I think Stephen Taylor, after about 40 minutes, got off because Piercy.
40 minutes?
Piercy come back.
40 minutes?
Mate. Yeah.
That's what you've said, Crouchy.
To look at the stadium, mate. It was like
it's been passed down through generations. Yeah. I'm so proud.
I'd rather pass out than get off.
Who introduced you to it, Mark? Was it Crouchy?
Obviously, I don't know whether Crouchy was the inventor, but I think Scotty Parker told me about Crouchy, actually. He said, what did you have, a little polo Crouchy or something? Is that right?
Yeah.
He said, someone said Eggy Boff pressed the brake.
It's a scandalous one, that, because there's only one driver in the car. You can't be. We had to put some serious guidelines in after that, because it's hold on a minute, it needs to affect the whole group, because you can't be sitting in a passenger seat telling me Eggy Boff first one to use the brake, because there's only one person.
It is an incredible game, If you're willing to see it through, brilliant.
You've ruined cinema for everyone now, because I get that Eggy Boff can be used in any circumstance, but cinema's going to open and there's going to be people queuing up, and it's going to be the worst possible call getting Eggy Boff just before you go in.
Mate, it's the worst
cinema's
thing
not
in the world
cheap.
because, like, obviously you're only going to see a film because you really want to see it. You know what I mean? Like,
So what do you do?
like, yeah, like you don't. Well, back then you never swallowed. Like you never went in.
Oh, let's make Eggy Boff great again. Like the thing is, enough people listen to this podcast now that perhaps if we can get it played a bit more. Admittedly, it means the secret's out of the world of football. It's not just the players anymore, but perhaps we can make it good again. You know?
Yeah, great revival of Eggy Boff. Second coming of Eggy Boff.
Do you know, we do silly ones now though. Like we still play it at the table in the breakfast in the morning, and like it's double awkward because someone will walk. They walk in the canteen and like I'll go Eggy Boff, like say hello. So it's like Jesse will walk in and go, "What's happening?" And you just like literally, mate, just blank them. You know, they just keep on eating, and then go, "What's happening?" And like, and everyone's just sitting there like that.
Right, Mark. So you're familiar with Eggy Boff. If I were to give you the idea of something called spray-and-aise, would you be into a product that was mayonnaise where you could spray it? Never seen anyone look less enthusiastic than you look right now.
No, I think it was in front of me and it was the only fucking pot I'd use it. But
I'm just thinking like maybe a retirement, you know, you've got to start thinking about what you're investing in, and what we'd like to propose is you invest in the future, and that's spray-and-aise, my friend.
Has anyone sent me an investor deck or not?
No, it can be arranged.
We're looking for 10 grand for 10% of the company. Are you in or out?
I'll buy it if you give me that basket, Pianja.
There's nothing to do with me, mate. I'll have to ask Gab.
Yeah, I know you feel me.
Boys, we've actually we've obviously got our Mayo Mole, and we heard from our Mayo Mole last week. We've had an update. Chris seemed unhappy with the speed of progress last week. Since then, the bosses have set their sights on finding a solution to the viscosity problem. It seems they may be onto something which I thought I'd share with you. The secret to maintaining mayonnaise's thick and creamy texture while making it sprayable seems to be delivery via a pressurized canister. The challenge now is getting the pressure and the recipe just right. Whilst we all enjoy a generous coating of mayo on our chips, the boffins don't want it delivered at such pressure that they're blown to pieces. As always, any ideas welcome. Yours, anonymously, the Mayo Mole.
Big up the Mayo Mole, sort of working it from the inside there, wherever they are. It'd be good to get this spray-and-aise thing on the shelves as quickly as we can. So frankly, we can all start earning a bit of money. Mark's in now as well.
Mark's all over it. Never seen someone so excited.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing it on my table in a few years.
At some point, this is the thing, if it gets made, at some point you'll see it and you'll look at it and you'll go, do you know what? They were right.
I'll just give it that one. I should have invested in that, you know.
Do you know what? It'd be one of those things where, you know, like when before Apple took off or Amazon or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd be one of those things where you see it on every table that you go in, you go, do you know what? I had a chance to invest in that.
Yeah.
Or not, maybe.
Or not. Yeah.
Or not.
Or someone's just done £1 million down the drain and you're like, buzzing, I never.
Well, it's a good update, Tom, and it's good to hear it's still ongoing.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Who's the best player you've ever played with at West Ham?
Wow, big question.
That is a big question. There was different stages in my career where, like, when I was a young 16-year-old, we signed Teddy Sheringham, right? And Parched brought me up with the first team to start training with the first team, and I'd done a few bits in training, and Teddy was like really complimentary of me, and I thought, oh mate, like this is a joke. This I get to train with him. Do you know what I mean? Like as a young kid, and then obviously a year later, I was playing with him in the team and going out and having a beer with him and all that. It was mad. I just couldn't believe it. And you know, in training, you'd slap it into him, and his layoff and his touch, mate, was like literally on the middle line of your Adidas boot. Do you know what I'm saying? It was so perfect.
Yeah.
And little things like in training where you'd lay one into him and and instead of him like sending it back to you, I'd like pop it up with the inside of his foot so you could hit a volley. Do you know what I mean? His mind was just like incredible. And him and Matty Everington, and I think it was Carl Fletcher. So I'm a young, like chirpy 17-year-old, just got in the first team and that. And Ted goes, "No, fancy a game of golf tomorrow? I go, yeah, sweet, of course." Like, so I got home and said, "Dad, like Teddy's asked me to have a game, right?" So I'm in my front room crouching with my 7-iron, right, doing my swing and all that. go to the like, turn up to the course, like fully geared up, ready to go. I'm on the first tee and like hit over there, whatever. So I've lined up, mate. I've seen this ball, Crouchy. I was buzzing, mate. Perfect. Like, I'm thinking, the belly,
Really?
the thing in your belly. Like, I'm so nervous in front of the lads. Turned round, mate. Teddy went, "You fucking idiot!" Put the ball down and teed off the other way. Mate, I swear to God, I played across the field onto like the 17th tee or something. Oh, gee, done me a kipper, mate. Done me a kipper. Done me a kipper. But yeah, he was great for me growing up.
Did you have to do his boots and that? Like, Crouchy's taught so much about these sort of legendary players that he did the boots for and then making that change. Was that not the case with you, Mark?
I started sort of training with the first team at like 16, and then I was travelling every week with Parched and going to the games. But the boot cleaning has sort of stopped then. But I used to do all like the tins and the like David James, mate. I swear to God, he used to have about 35 cups of tea on a away trip. But
so that's what it turned into. So where Crouchy used to clean the boots of these players, that got phased out. But sort of the job to do was to go and make teas.
Yeah, well, on the coach, like you'd have like you didn't really fly back then, so you get a coach everywhere. JMO would be sitting there and with like the experienced boys, I'd be on like a little 2-seater at the back on my own, just trying to keep out of byline, and he'd go, "No, it's a cup of tea." And then I'd like get up, cup of tea, and then I swear to you, mate, as I'd sat down, he'd already drunk it, and then I was back up there again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tea boy.
Yeah, I was on, and then obviously things start to change. You know what I mean? The older you get, and you think, yeah, it is my turn now. But yeah, brilliant. And then going back to the question, Geese, and then obviously we had Carlos, who was obviously people knew him, but we didn't know he was the player he was going to turn out to be. Even like Mascherano in training, he come in and had a bit of a tough time. I think he gave the ball away at Everton away, I think, and they scored, and he just couldn't quite get to the speed of the game. And then he didn't really play, but mate, in training, Geese, he was unreal. But Carlos was different gear, and yeah, he was some player, mate.
Did he train properly, Tevez? Because I've heard stories that Tevez was one of these players who wasn't bothered what happened in training and would just maybe not look that good, and yet he'd cross the touchline on a Saturday or a Sunday, and it would just be amazing.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, with us, I think because it was his first club in the UK, he did do a bit in training, I thought, and at times he was unplayable. But then when Angelo Ogbonna signed for us and he was at Juve with him, that's what he said to me. He said in training he didn't care, but then on a Saturday he was like a madman. Do you know what I mean? And he was incredible. So maybe he was when he went to other clubs, but I mean, you could tell like when he was with us that he weren't staying at West Ham. Do you know what I mean? He was going, and obviously United signed him, and the rest is history, I think.
Do you ever sort of play a role in attracting a player, Mark? So your signings at West Ham this year have all come off, haven't they? Souček, Lingard, Kufal, Benrahma. Do you ever get sent out as a sort of envoy for West Ham?
To be honest, I didn't have a clue about the 2 Czech boys. They come from nowhere. I think they've surprised us all. They've been unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm pretty sure now all the teams are sending their scouts to the Czech Republic because they really have been top notch. That Kufal right back is a machine, mate. He loves football. I'm telling you, see these boys, mate. We play a game, they're doing like 12, 13k a game, and then they're in running the next day. They're mad.
Mate, it's massive fantasy football points as well. You know, from my point of view, they've done me a lot of favours.
Do you know what they're doing? Like they set up. I promise you, they're great fellas as well. But they set up the head tennis net and play an hour of head tennis on their own, mate, against each other. They're mad. And then and then an hour later, you see Kufal at the bus stop getting a bus like to Chigwell.
But hang on. He gets a bus.
Mate, I mean, I sent a picture of one of my mates of him sitting at a bus stop waiting for like the 86 to Chigwell. It's mad.
What?
No,
actually, I swear to you.
That's amazing.
And I think
Do you know what?
I think Thomas Souček, I think when he signed for West Ham, I think his mum and dad come over. It's a story like this anyway, and he sent them back to Stansted on the Stansted Express, the bus. Mate, man.
Who's been like the biggest character you've had in the dressing room in all your years?
Mate, if I'm honest with you, there's been some, but the 3 or 4 years I've just had with Snodgrass, mate. Crouchy, mate.
I love it. I love hearing
mate,
this.
This guy, honestly, I was on the phone to him for an hour today, just roaring in the car on the way to pick my boy up. And he's just, mate, we got on so well and we just bounced off each other so much, mate. But it was just relentless. What a guy, honestly. I was devoed when he left. Like, devoed.
Oh.
Geez, tell this story about him, mate, honestly. So he was just leaving the club. He was going. So we was having a meeting. We was playing on a Sunday. We was in a meeting with the gaffer on a Saturday morning, 10:30 in the meeting room. So we were all sitting in there, mate. About 10 minutes in, Snods ain't turned up yet, right? So anyway, we've walked out of the meeting. I've gone, mate, you ain't taking it serious, Geeks. I know you're leaving and all that, but like you got to butt your ideas up. So we're sitting at dinner, and a text comes around to the group. And lucky enough, Crouchy, our table, apart from me and Snods, was all starting the game, right? So it's come through the group, all starting players in the meeting at 8 o'clock. So I've got the Chris, get on this. Because I can see Snods ain't even looked at his phone, right? So I've got, Snods, mate, you better not be late for this meeting, geez. Like, Gaffer's going to go off his rocker if you will be late for this meeting. So I've got up, walked towards the lift, right? So you've got Jared Bowen, Chris, I think Angelo, one other, and Snods. So Snods is just in the way with the fairies light on his phone. So we've all got in the lift. I've gone, oh shit, my key. So I've come out the lift. The doors have closed. He's gone up. So they've all got. So I know I'm not in a meeting, mate, because I'm not starting, right? He's folding the meeting, right, with Chris, Angelo, and all that. He's sat right at the front, keys, and all the staff members are in there, right? And he's going, I'm telling you what. Nobes is going to be late, isn't he? Right?
So he's
not even in the team,
right?
Games, right? Actually, I don't even think he's on the Julie, right? So
there's 12. There's 12 men.
So Stuart Pearce is taking the meeting, so he's at the front, right? So and Snods, mate, he's got ADHD, so he bouncing the back at the front. This is Chris saying, he's like, Chris, I'll tell you what, Nobes is going to be late. I'm on him hard and all that, right? So he's gone to Piercy, we better start, geez, because the rest of the boys are late. Right? So he's sitting there all quiet and he's clicked on him, geez, right? And he's gone, I'm not in this meeting, am I? Piercy's gone, Robert, you're not in this meeting, mate. Mate, all of a sudden, I've got a FaceTime, right, Robert Snodgrass, and he's tapped on my door, and geez, I opened the door, and his face, mate, was like, geez, I had tears running down my face. He said, no, I've never been so embarrassed in all my life. You got six staff members standing there, and he's the only one at the front bouncing the back, and they're all going to be late, lads. We're on them and all that.
See, what we've got here, boys, is a classic case of meeting shithousery.
Amazing. Oh God, I missed that. You know,
geez, that's the one thing I'll miss more than anything, mate.
Yeah,
because it's relentless, mate. That was like every day, geez, every day. And that's one of the main things, geez. I've always felt like, as captain, that if you've got like good characters in your dressing room, you know, like you've been in dressing rooms, Crouchy, where you thought this ain't right. This, like, we're in trouble here. Do you know, like, because people have got their own agendas and all that. But when you've actually got a great bunch of lads coming together, mate, it's nothing better. You know, like, so even now, mate, I can't. My kids leave for school at 7:30. I can't wait to get in the car and get in.
Does it make a massive difference to results on the pitch if the
mate.
dressing room is working?
Yeah, if you've got a really good dressing room, you can get away with it. But let me tell you, mate, when you're winning, it's a different world. You know, like, you're just buzzing. You win a game, you just can't wait to get in on a Monday morning and have a kick around with the lads. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. And if you lost, it's horrendous, really. But it does help if you've got a good bunch of lads and you can have a laugh. Do you know what I'm saying?
You've probably both been in situations where you're playing with people that you know aren't on the same agenda, as you put it, Mark. How did you both deal with those players in those scenarios? Crouchy, did you ever confront them on it? Mark, as captain, do you feel a certain responsibility to do that? And how does it sort of play out in a dressing room?
For me, you know, there was always a captain. I was never a captain. But there were times sort of later on in my career where I was like, you know, especially at Stoke, we went from having the best dressing room to one of the worst that I've been a part of. So as an older player, I felt like I had to step up and say, this is not right.
There's times where I've had like fights, you know what I mean, like in the dressing room, and because my life revolves around really our results. Like no matter where I go, I talk about West Ham. Like I go in a petrol station, I go and watch my boy play football. I go in the local restaurants, or I'll have a walk in the park. You know what I mean? Like my life revolves around how West Ham are doing. And yeah, of course, when we've had tough times, I'm never afraid to say what I think. Do you know what I mean? And I've always thought if you be honest, people respect you for that. But sometimes they don't need to be shouted at. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's an arm around the shoulder, and this is what the fans expect for you. Because a lot of players come in, I think, not a lot, but some players come in and think that doing step overs and all that sort of stuff is going to work. Whereas West Ham fans don't really want that. You get the 1 or 2, 3 special ones, but they want someone like the Czech boys that wear their heart on the sleeve and give everything and run and tackle, and they're going to be loved there. I can't wait to see the fans with them. Do you know what I mean? Because they are going to. That's the sort of players they want, and then you get the 1 or 2 special ones, and it's sometimes it's a really hard balance, especially being captain and being there for so many years. You sort of mould the dressing room to how you think it should be. Do you know what I mean? And
do you think you've ever got it wrong, Mark? Do you ever think that you've gone and bollocked someone, and then I don't know if there's anyone that comes to mind, and then you've gone, that wasn't the right way to deal with that person?
Angelo Bonner, one of the nicest guys in football, right? I love him to bits. He's got a beautiful family. We get on so well. And we played Crystal Palace away once, and we was in a tough time at the time when me and him had a big argument on the pitch. And I think I grabbed him by the scuff of the neck or something like that. Anyway, I was wrong, like full stop. I should have never done it in front of people. I knew that. But do you know what? I'm not going to text him tonight because, as you say, that's shithousery. So I'll go in and say sorry to him in the morning. You know what I mean? And like shake his hand and say, "Look, it's my fault, mate. I should have never done that." Anyway, so I walked in the changing room. He's not there. Got my gear on. Walked in the physio room. He's sitting down on the bed having a massage. So I went up to him. I said, "And my bad." And he went, "Fuck off, mate." Right? I swear to you, Keith. Right? So he's got his phone in his hand on Instagram. I went whack. Slapped his phone out of his hand. It flew across the room, smashed on the bed. Mate, it's all gone off in the physio room, guys, and I swear to you, mate. Like one of the physios, big lads, grabbed me back. Mate, he'd eat me alive, guys. He's made of concrete, the man, yeah? Like, no worries, yeah? I've got like a little skinny physio holding me back, right? He's got about 12 of the lads holding him back, yeah? After about 2 minutes, it all went off, and we was cuddling in the end, mate. Do you know what I mean? Because we both got the wrong end. He was angry or whatever. And that's how I've always dealt with it. Like, if I'm wrong, I'll say sorry. But if I don't think I am, then I won't. Simple as. But I'd rather just get it out there and then, like, kiss and make up after. Do you know what I mean? I'd never, ever let it fester. I'd go and sit with you at lunch after and have a bit of banter. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's just the way football should be. As soon as you start holding grudges, mate, you're finished. Do you know what I mean?
What about the manager? Because it's a slightly weird situation, isn't it, that you had at West Ham, where you have a manager and then he leaves and then he comes back. So just being honest, when David Moyes gets reappointed, how are you feeling?
Oh, mate, I got on so well with him the first time. So, like, we had a great relationship. And then I got a phone call saying the gaffer might be coming back, and did I think it was a good idea? And I said yes, because I thought he was really good the first time. Don't get me wrong, I was quite sad to see Manuel go, because I got on really well with him. We had some good times together, but we just got on a bad run, mate, and I think that the chairman decided to make a decision. And then the gaffer rang me, as in Moisey, and I met him at the stadium the day he got appointed, and he asked me about the players. He knew a lot of them anyway, and I think a lot of the players were pleased to work with him again. And yeah, the rest is history. He's done a fantastic job this year.
What's special about him that brings out the best in you?
The one thing when he first came that I was so impressed by, he had an unbelievable way of, like, digging you out. Say it was half time and you wasn't quite having the best game, or he wanted something else from you. Whether it was me, Arnautovic, Lanzini, it didn't matter who it was. Like, he had an unbelievable way of digging you out without actually digging you out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like he'd shout at you and give you instructions. But the lads, like, really took to it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It was like it was a good skill. I mean, since he's come back, he's even in the 2 years he was away, he's chilled a little bit. He's not like he was before. Not as much. He still does it, of course. But But yeah, he had a really good way of doing that. It's quite a skill.
Do you know, start of the season, did you have when you saw the team? Did you think, oh, we're going to have a good season, or has it surprised you this year?
Crouchy playing for Champions League football with 3 games to go, it surprised me. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but we went away in pre-season to St Andrews because of all the stuff that was going on with the lads we had, and you had Declan coming up. I still think he can go on again. I think he's that good. I really do. We had a real good bunch of players that I thought, you know what, we've actually can have a decent season this year. We really can. And we added a couple of good ones with us again. And don't get me wrong, I'm surprised how well we've done, because it's been a fantastic season, but enjoyable one as well.
Crouchy's done the robot again, because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
In all the time at West Ham, has it ever lost that sense of being special?
There was times, of course, where it's like we've been having tough times and all that, and then like I'd speak to the old man and I'd be moaning away, saying about the way we plan or whatever, and he'd just go like, "Mark, I swear to God, I'm going to drive around and hit you on the chin soon if you keep on moaning about what you. Are you mad or what? Like we had nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like you've lived your life, you've done things that kids can only dream of doing, and like I've been lucky enough to witness that.
I think you have this inner drive in you, which means that even when you start hitting these things, the drive that got you there in the first place is the drive that keeps you going and keeps you moving through these. But I sound a bit like Chris? Jake Humphreys now, but you get what I'm saying.
Do you say that, Chris, though? But the way that the Nobes just said there, his old man's pulled him and said, "You got the best job in the world." Like, there's lots of players that actually think it's their God-given right to be out there, and they don't feel sort of blessed to be in that position.
But Crouchy, I do believe, like, listen, don't get me wrong, like, you sacrifice so much, mate, like, as a footballer, like, your Christmases, your holidays with your kids, and, like, family events and all that, right? But I think you're born with it. You're lucky to be born to play at that level, full stop. Like, you can get better, and you can train, obviously, you can practice, but to play at that top level, like Premier League level, you're born with something in you to be able to do that.
I wonder if when you retire, is one of the things that you might regret being removed from the Premier League captain's WhatsApp group? Because I've heard this is a thing, right?
It was a big thing in the lockdown, because there was so much going on, mate, to be honest.
Who's the admin?
It's a good question. I've never looked actually.
Who changes the group icon or changes the group name?
Got to be Jordan Henderson.
I think. Do you know what? I don't know. It might be Jordan actually. I'm not sure.
Is the chat generally dominated by the top 6 teams?
To be honest, Keys, it's very like nothing really gets said until something needs to be said. I think it's actually quite a powerful thing. Like we realised in lockdown how much, like, if we do things together, I can get done. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a good idea, really good idea.
Until Mark goes and Eggy boffs the group.
Eggy boff, no one texts.
And then it's dead.
Yeah.
There must be one. Yeah. There must be one who puts the video in where everyone goes, "Ooh,
that's a bit wrong."
No, mate, actually, you know what? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's not like that at all, because it's only for like sometimes, like, do you know, like obviously with the lads group at West Ham, like it just gets peppered constantly about stuff, but like you don't really know the lads that well. Do you know what I mean? So you don't know, like, there's so many times that you want to like forward it. Do you know what I mean? But you think, no, I can't do that.
That should be what you do on your last day at West Ham. You should just put something absolutely outrageous in the Premier League captain's WhatsApp group.
Oh, mate. What way to go.
That's going to be a moment, isn't it, when you get removed from the West Ham group?
Well, so obviously with the teams and the boys that get relegated, it's quite. Do you know what I mean? It's like.
See you later. That little waving emoji.
That's why it's not good to be admin.
What about those relegated sides from the Premier League this year?
I don't know. Obviously, it's quite a sore subject, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It's just quite sad. But what about you personally then? So the West Ham group, are they allowed to remove you, or can you not do that to a man like yourself?
No, because I'm admin in our group. So.
Yeah. You'll just destroy it as your finishing move.
I'll create my own group. But yeah, mate, do you know what, Crouchy? I don't know how you felt, mate. Like when I like finished playing, like I'm actually like, I know it sounds mad, but looking forward to having a beer on Christmas Day. You know, and going away for the New Year or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like you wake up in the morning now, and it's like the kids are like, "Dad, what you get? What we doing?" I'm like, I've got to shoot. Like, I'll be back tomorrow night. Do you know what I mean? It's horrendous.
These are the things, you know, and that first Christmas is special. It really is. You know, that first Christmas where you sit back and you have a beer and you watch the football instead of being in the hotel. You know, go into a game even. You know, with your dad or your mates, and you know, just be the fan that you would have been anyway. You know, it's a special thing.
Like Cratchy, I've got like 3 or 4 mates that I've had from school. You know what I mean? And we've had some great times together. But like at first, when you're like 21, 22, they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll hold our holidays till like June because they know I'm off." But mate, the older you get, they just go, "Fuck that." Like I'm going on in September, Christmas. You know, like they just bomb you off, mate, because they can't be bothered anymore to wait for you.
With me, we got relegated at Stoke, and I was on the bench, the Championship, and my dad sounds similar to your dad. He watched every game that I've ever played since I was 9 years old. And then I was 37, 38, and I'm on the bench at Stoke away at Rotherham. And my old man bought a season ticket at QPR. Right, no, honestly, mate, you're someone that I wanted to have on the pod, and it's been better than I even hoped it would be. So, honestly, thanks so much for coming on. I'm, slightly jealous of you. I've moved clubs all over the place. So to be a one club man, be an absolute top man, and to be a West Ham legend, like I'm slightly jealous of you in some ways. But honestly, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Geese. Absolute pleasure. Even though you said it's going to be an hour, and I'm like, it's 11:30, but sweet.
I appreciate that.
No, mate, absolute pleasure, honestly. I've loved it.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Right then, lads, it's that part of the podcast where we get someone on to sell their own podcast or TV show or whatever it is that they'd like to come on and sort of pass through our podcast. This episode, we're continuing on the boxing theme, and we can say hello to Amir Khan. Yes, Amir.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on.
So what's going on? What, you got a new podcast?
Yeah, so what I've got now, I've got a new podcast. It's called Home with the Cons. And myself, my wife, we're on that show. Talking about just general stuff, talking about ourselves, what we've gone through. We've had a bit of an up-down relationship. And then talking about the new TV show that we've got coming up on BBC One, which is Meet the Cons, Big in Bolton. So it's been quite fun. It's been quite different because people only see us when we are our best on the field or in the ring. So at least this time, people will get to see the real side of me.
How have you found doing the podcast, Amir? Because I was fascinated what you were saying about it, that, we've had ups, we've had downs in our relationship. But it sounds to me that the podcast, which is on BBC Sounds, it's quite similar to the TV show in that I watched the TV show and it looks quite therapeutic for you, being able to say all this stuff and show everyone.
But definitely, because this time it gave me the opportunity to give my side of the story. And look, I put my hand up. I did mess up on a lot of things, but it's about learning from them, and it's made me a better person than anything. But at least we got to show that the real us and what we're really all about.
You're a massive Bolton fan, aren't you, Amir? So you've had a couple of bad seasons at Bolton where you've had successive relegations.
It's been a long time since I remember the days when, I think, Crouchy, you were playing for Liverpool at the time when we played you guys a couple of times, Bolton and Liverpool, and we got the win against Liverpool a few times, which was like amazing. Like we would never have thought that we could beat a team like Liverpool, one of the best Premiership football teams. But I think it was all about, since Sam Allardyce left, I think that's when the team structure was missing. A lot of the players left, and then the club was in so much debt. So we have been through ups and downs again with Bolton Wanderers, but now they're getting back on their feet again, and now obviously being promoted is probably amazing news.
Yeah, don't get me started on the Reebok, mate. I used to absolutely hate going there. That was one of the hardest places to go, mate. The fans, the little fella with the flag when you scored, Kevin Davis, like everything about it was difficult.
I know exactly where you're coming from, because there comes times where when I'm fighting, like some places I might go to fighting, like London or Birmingham, I don't really like that place to fight in, because you got the pressure on you. You just don't feel at ease. I think for you, Peter, that must be one of the places that you don't feel at ease, huh?
No, honestly, I found it so tough. But that buzz, obviously, I'm not sure what's in store for you next or what have you. But that buzz of fighting, I watched you a couple of times in the MEN. We went with a few of the Liverpool boys, and that buzz when you're walking on and the adrenaline pumping. Do you want to get back into that, or are you happy doing what you're doing?
When I watch fights at home, I do miss it a lot. And I'm like, look, I can't call it a day yet. I still have it in me. I still feel strong. So I've started the gym again while I'm here in Dubai. I've started the gym. I've started training, and I feel how I feel like how I used to feel when I was 25, 26 at my peak. I'm 30, coming on to 34. I'm 33 now, but I just don't want to give it up because I still have 1 or 2 fights left in me, and I want to finish on a big bang. There's always been talk about me doing a Kell Brook fight in the UK, going back to America, fighting over there. Look, I do miss it, man, and that's why I cannot walk away from the sport. It's made me the person I am.
Would you want to, as a lover of the sport, finish with a YouTuber or one of those guys? Or could you just not go near that?
No, I would never go near a YouTuber. No, I'd never do that because I just think it's discrediting the sport.
What about a podcaster? I'll nominate Chris Stark.
Come on. Come on, Amir.
Peter's not calling. Is Peter? You're not calling me out, are you?
No, I'm not calling you out, mate. Chris did before you came on.
Amir, that's Crouchy all over. He just delegates
Chris,
it to someone else.
Come on.
No, that's what Crouchy does. He won't take you himself. What he'll do is he'll get one person in his phone book to go and, Chris battered in the phone book.
Look, I don't think I could do that, man. Honestly, I could not fight someone, who's not on that level. I mean, mentally, you can't really prepare yourself because you're going to be like, oh, I can beat this guy. I'm a professional fighter. He's just coming in. He's a podcaster, or he's a YouTuber, or whatever. He's a singer, or whatever. But it's crazy. It's what sells nowadays. That's what people want to see.
Amir, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast. If anyone wants to go check this out and you haven't done so yet, it's on BBC Sounds. Just check it out on the app. Download the app if you haven't got that yet. The BBC Sounds app, just search for At Home with the Khans and you can give that a listen. He's got the TV show as well, which is on BBC Three. Amir, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Chris, Tom, and Peter. We'll see you soon, bro.
Top man, mate. Yeah, see you soon, mate. Good luck.
Take care. And listen, if you want to get the gloves on, man, we'll get you in the gym when I'm back. We can get you put some muscle on,
Chris. Go on, mate. You can do it.
Chris.
Come on.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.